Good evening, folks.
Get the VDD today.
Three,
Hello,
two,
everybody.
one. Good evening.
2, 1, 2. Do you get the VDD today?
How are we all doing? Hey, Max.
Hey, Max. What's up? What's up?
Hey, Niz.
Spectators are from. Hello. I haven't seen you in 1 week.
An entire week. What beautiful timing was that?
That's good timing.
Back in a minute, folks.
I'll play music for them while you're away. Yeah, nice. We're good. We're doing good over here. Classic post-mortem vibes.
Right, should we try that again? Good evening, folks.
I'm playing music for everyone while you're away.
What are you playing? You doing that one, right? Okay.
Badly. Yeah. What's up?
So what are we here to do, Niz?
We're here to document. I mean, I think basically this is almost like therapy. I think we do this for ourselves. Because actually, I went I think I told you this, I went and had a look at one of our earlier post-mortems a while ago.
Oh, which one?
I don't remember. I think I went through all of them, actually.
Oh, right,
I was looking for something. I can't remember what it was. I think we made a good joke during one of them. And I wanted to remember what the joke was. I actually went through a lot of our VODs. I watched almost 4 hours of the Jingoku VOD the other day also, because I was looking for a font.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's not, I know what you're thinking, just look at the assets. No, because I have an image captured of the font.
Oh, Jesus.
But so I was like, and actually I did find it, but not even because...
What's the use case
using it.
in Jingoku?
I've been in Jingoku again. I've been working in Jingoku.
No, I mean, like, what's the... what is it in Jingoku?
It's the kanji font.
Right, okay.
Which, by the way, is Noto Sans, which it turns out Noto Sans is Google's font that is international. We have every single character in the same font.
For like all languages?
Yeah.
Theoretically, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which is quite a cool idea. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the material score being like, if a T is this, what is a sir? Which I think is quite cool. Anyway, but yeah, you don't even see me using it. I just said it in the background. The screen was on Will, but I said it out loud. I was like, Noto Sans, that looks good for the kanji.
Nice. Hey, Anna.
Hey, Anna Banana. How you doing? So yeah, anyway, to answer your previous question, we are documenting. We're here to do a few things. First of all, review for ourselves how well we think the game, how much we enjoyed working on it, the things that we've learned from the process, how we're growing as a studio, because I mean we're a studio.
Yeah.
It's fun. When we first did this, I think it was just a way for us to like debrief and celebrate. But now it feels like an important part of process. Like it's something that you've put in the agile sprint notes. It's like it's a stand up.
It's the retro. It's the
retro, exactly. Thank you. That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's definitely useful, right? Because like, if discussing this is how you learn for the next ones, and I think we've said before, the only reason that Jingoku went so well for LD49 is that we kind of fell apart in LD48, and talked about it and learned a load and hit the ground running for a fantastic LD49. So they're useful.
So yeah, and this was LD50.
It's a big one. It's the half century.
Well done, Mikey. I mean, actually, I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. But I like your game jam. I like your game jam and I like your name. And I'll go as far as to say, I like your Twitter avatar for Little Chicken. That's it though.
And our inboxes are open for the keynote for LD51. Was there a keynote this time around? I didn't see one. I actually didn't see one posted.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, let's go over what are the other things we want to do as well as I guess where we're going to rank. We've actually been we've been bad on the coolness ratings this time. I think this time, last 6 months ago, we already had like 100 reviews and we're sitting on about 19.
Yeah, we have just, as of like the last hour or so, broken through the minimum required votes per category. So we have 20 to 21 per category now. So we're
So
not
we'll be
worried
getting
about.
voted on. No.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about actually like getting a ranking. But yeah, I mean we've played 30 games between us. We've played a decent amount of the LD things so far. I'm sure we'll do some more as well.
We're really on 30 between us. I didn't notice that. On the page it said we've given... Oh, karma from feedback given is 12, but ratings given is 28.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, because I didn't say, I played like 6 or 7 yesterday. And I was like, that can't be it. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, you sent me a voice message the other day where you were saying like, I'm going to play a load of games and get us past 20 or whatever, and I think we're at 25 at the time.
I just wanted an easy job. I was like, yeah, I've actually done it. So yeah, first things first, I suppose. How was it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was a good one. It's the first one for a little while now that we've done with 2 people.
Yeah.
And it's been cool to have Will on board and go for a team of 3 and get more done.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting to say because you and I are obviously a lot more experienced in this than Will at this point, and also both work in this or adjacent field.
Sure.
Like you are programming every day.
Yeah.
I am in engine every day. And then obviously me and you have been doing the project for the last couple months. We parked Jingoku, but we sort of stayed in engine for a couple of things. Actually, we looked at Underworld. We've since been doing Words on the Street. So we're like super freshened up on it. And as a result of, and just generally for the last few years, it's been that way. But I think, yeah, obviously Fishy Lake was a bit of a mess. Jingoku was really good, and I wondered if it was just lightning in a bottle. Like, oh, we just happened to pick the right project. But actually, I did notice that there was one person less this time. It really did feel like pretty much a full teammate down from last time, which is, I think, a testament to Will as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That his absence was felt.
Yeah, I think I said maybe just after the LD actually closed out, it felt like we tried to tackle a 3-person game with just the 2 of us and got most of the way there. I think there are lacking areas, but we've, I think, done something really good. But yeah, I think we scoped it as though Will was around, and yeah, true. Like it's obvious that there were only 2 of us.
Yeah, true. But also, again, testament to us. I do think that, yeah, like at least it is feature complete in a sense. It's not the thing we probably thought we were going to make at the beginning, or at least, it's not the idealized version of what it could be, certainly. But we, the things that we wanted in, like the actual little things that I was like, at the end of the day, are we even going to get this in? There was no gun. There was no boss fight. There's a boss fight. We got a boss in there. And it works differently than the other ones. I had to hand animate it, and it shows. But it's different. There's a few things in that that are done very differently, and we used a couple of design and art ideas from outside of a jam, right? Like there's, in fact, one of the tiles is ZBrushed from cheeky, I suppose. But like, other than that, there was a shitload of fresh art that went in as well. Like I basically did that kind of classic divider. Let's do you mechanics, me art. But we both kind of hit some middle point at some point where you were, organising new elements around. I was doing this, trying to get the code for the IKing, which, luckily there were solutions online. And actually that's the kind of stuff that realistically you needed a 3rd person for. Yeah.
1 person on research is a nice, out of a team of 3 is nice, out of a team of 2 it's a bit of a stretch. Yeah, there's always some overlap, isn't there? Like you end up on the programming after the first day or so usually. And then, like I end up doing some like technical art stuff often. So like working on doing some fence stuff, the walls only appear when you're nearby kind of
things
business.
Like that. Like how the tiles are generating around have different like substrata of like, here's a bunch of things that we could generate and then you're generating them in patterns with the, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, technical art, I suppose. And actually, it's funny to get away from bringing in Will, the last sort of mention I'll say. God, that was a mess of a sentence. The last thing I'll say about Will is what I meant to say. Is I actually spoke to Will a couple of days ago, and I was saying similar stuff to him. It's like, you actually really missed this LD. Like, I think I think the parts of it that don't work for you and I, which we'll get into, I guess, probably we would have just had more time and we would have like done them a bit differently, had them in a third person. And one of the things that he was saying, and last post-mortem, I think we talked about how we fulfilled 3 quite nice niches where you are very systems minded, very systems driven.
Mm-hmm.
I am often very polish minded, very finish driven.
Yep.
And Will is a puppy. He's a child. he just wants to make fun shit.
Yeah.
And actually, he'll say let's do X to a lot of ideas that you and I might balk at for the wrong reasons.
Sure.
Like he might be like, let's make okay, here's one of the Jingoku games, and he was showing me something where there's like, you get a potato, and you put it on a drill, and then you spin the drill around and use potato peeler to and I'd just be like, well, that sounds like a lot of stuff. But then he'll just it's not though. Like, you just do this and this. And I'm like, oh, I guess so. Yeah, I didn't think to do it.
Yeah.
And that kind of those little degrees of zane of well being like, oh, it would be really cool if blank.
Yeah.
We didn't put in. And so I think a lot of the things in the game are very clean, work, look great, feel good to interact with. But you're not always doing the coolest stuff. You're not always having wow moments. You're not like people aren't maximizing the amount of fun they could be having in the game. And I think it's because you and I just wanted to make sure everything works well.
Yeah.
And it's there's a couple bugs obviously, but it works well. Like I think it's a testament, a vertical slice of something almost. But you're not getting the maximum amount of that setting out of our assets, I don't think. And that's the kind of thing that you want someone like Will in there to just be like, okay, guys, what if you could just press a button and everything went slow-mo and you could run around and kill like 20 guys? And I'm just like, yeah, I guess. And then it would go in and you'd be like, yeah, that's clearly the most fun thing you can do, actually. I don't know why we haven't made the whole game about that.
Yeah. Overall, though, yeah, you asked how it went, and in general, I think it's one of our better LD entries. It is very polished. It is, I think, like there are bugs, as you mentioned. I think it is surprisingly bug-free given the scope and the physics-driven nature of it. I'm surprised how well it generally does work.
Same.
How crowded it gets on the arenas, but still kind of mostly holds together. I know it looks a bit janky, the enemy stack, but that is by design, and it does actually work.
Yep.
Rushed design, but design nonetheless.
They have behaviours where when they hit the ground, things
they begin to actually behave and that kind of thing.
And that works. Yeah. No one ever just no one walks off into the air.
Right.
Like they look. It's the kind of things that seem very obvious as a player, where you're like, well, yeah, they have to be within the walls, and they have to be on the ground, of course. And you go, no. There's no concept of the walls and the ground. Like we invented, it's like 10 lines of code. Like when something is falling, you might think that's a thing that's handled by the physics engine, but
oh, we have a disconnect.
They can frequently get moved up and down. Oh, from OBS or from me?
From you. It was only like 5 seconds, but.
I saw the VOD. I was caught in a great frame.
Yeah, we got the gist. It was only like 5 seconds or so. Oh, freeze up number 2. Uh-oh. Is he back? Are you back? Nimu. Okay, that's a big freeze up. We had one of these in the test call earlier. Yo.
Hello. I don't know. The internet seems fine on my end, but yeah, forgive me. It's fine. It's for a VOD. Look how happy I looked in that little disconnected frame anyway. Just a little smile on my cheeks. Am I visible again?
Yep, you're back on.
Okay. Let's see if I can. So yeah, I agree. It's one of our better ones. It does hold up surprisingly well, yeah. Do you think that we split the work well? Do you feel like you
between us? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's in the recent LDs at least. Like we were inexperienced 7 years ago, but from Buried Things onwards, I don't think there's any problems with that really.
No, I don't think so.
We both just hit it hard for 3 days. Like
Mm-hmm.
You just both get as much done as you can. Oh dear, another freeze up. My internet also seems fine. And I'm not dropping frames. Like, I'm not freezing up on the stream, right, folks? Because if I'm freezing up on stream, then it's my end. No, it looks like I'm okay, right? Ooh, that is a big freeze up. Okay, well, if we need to, while Niz sorts internet thingies out, I can always have a quick run of Strata. And let me do that in chat, actually. So, yes, Strata is the game we made for LT50. It's available. You can play it for free. You can even do it in browser. It looks slightly better downloaded just because there's some extra shaders and stuff that don't run in browser. But take your pick. It's nice and easy to run in browser, or it's a nice quick download. It's like 60 meg. Let's just relaunch this call and maybe put it in a different region. Hello.
Hello.
I'm gonna move the region of this call and see if it's the Discord server issue.
It's not. My internet just went down. I'm mobile hotspotting.
Your internet went down.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, at least that is explained, and you shouldn't disappear anymore. Cool.
Just thought I'd come back with like a bit of spice sounds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Get the VDD today. How's everyone?
Right, I'll just stay hotspotting for a bit.
Cool. Hey, Aaron.
It doesn't look like it's dropped out, but who knows? Anyway.
All right. So yeah, work split I think was all good. I think it has been since we did Buried Things, really. So yeah, speaking of like comparing this to our more recent LDs, I think the main differences for me are it feels like we lent more on polish than content. This feels like one of the most polished games we've made, and recently one of the least content heavy games we've made.
Yeah,
has the least to do.
Is that the things you can do and the actions and the interactions are good, but they are limited, and the thing is they are rewarding in a very the first 5-10 seconds of gameplay feel exquisite, and then when the depth of the game is revealed to you, actually it sort of falls off a little bit. And it's been interesting watching some streamers.
Lots of layer puns happening, by the way.
It's some people are saying it's very good. A lot of our comments are being like, "Oh dear."
I've been hearing you the whole time. I think you may have lost me for a minute.
Puns.
Even the hotspot's broken. God damn.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
The hotspot went down as well.
No, I don't know. Just was being a bit dodgy. I've switched back to the Wi-Fi.
Okay, we'll see how it goes.
So let's see what happens.
I don't actually think I lost you at all, but I think you did lose me for a bit.
I lost a little bit. Lots of layer puns, you said.
Yeah, you said like our downfall or something was this, and then the depth of something, and then fell down somewhere, or like you just said a lot of layery things.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. That's great, actually. But yeah, I think some people have really liked it, and I think there's still the general sense of just people being like, I'm really surprised you've pulled this out in 3 days, which I think is usually it's a sign of our polish. It happened with Jingoku. We were surprised then. I was less surprised that we could do this now. The fact that it's as robust as it is.
Yeah.
I remember the Fear of While Alive, which is very similar, right? With a better mechanic but less polish. And I think with While Alive, it was just like, there's no way this is going to work. And there were bugs in there that actually you're just like, yeah, sorry, we knew that was there and we couldn't fix it.
Yeah.
Whereas this time I was a little bit less like that. I'm it's great that it's robust, but at no point did I feel like, oh, this isn't going to work. Even adding mechanics very late in the last 4 or 5 hours. When I put the gun in, I was like, no, we don't have to worry about this. This is going to work. We're building correctly. We're not, there's no strange tangled strings to worry about necessarily.
Yeah.
The fact the IK is just a thing that you can just slap over something.
Yeah, that's nice. That is nice.
There's no, the animation is not interacting with the physics. The physics is not interacting with the way, it's all pretty basic, actually. And we're getting good at decoupling.
Yes. I have things to mention on that. Just before that, I do have a confession and an apology to make, Niz. Earlier I told you, can you please move your camera up? And I made terrible mistakes, and I'm going to need you to move it back down again.
Why have I been reframed?
You've been reframed, so now you're going to have to move your camera back down.
What about that?
Perfect.
Is that better?
That's perfect. Yeah, so by the end of like day 2, I started getting the feeling of we're not going to have time to just like put enough things in it for it to really feel like a functional game. Like we're just going to end up with one level and one type of enemy or something like that. But it's a feeling that I get every single LD around the same time, and I just have to trust at this point that like I'm just wrong. we have enough time to do it. It'll be okay.
It's that weird thing of, and I actually think it's a really useful reaction you have, because in development, the rule is always the last 5% is actually 50%. We've had this on our longer projects with like Waver. How many times did I say to you, it's done in a week? And then 2 months later, we're like, oh, I've kind of worked every day on this. Like, and I think with game jams, actually the opposite tends to be true, where because it's so fast moving, your architecture does get laid in 2 days.
Yeah.
And so once that settles in, throwing in, like, we got like 4 enemies in the last like hour.
Yeah.
You can't do that and actually, it'd be foolish to do that in a regular game.
Yeah.
One, because part of the reason we're able to do that is because we're only making very minimal changes that wouldn't necessarily like justify a mechanic in a bigger or better game, right? Like we could now with Words on the Street, which we've been working on, make 3 or 4 variants of like Ogle or Wordle or whatever, but we're not. Like to justify a new thing, it has to be meaningfully different. Whereas in the jams, you know, hey, this is just a change of color and it's a new thing.
Yeah.
And you go, oh yeah, of course we can sprint through that at the end.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, of course we can change the enemies and have just one that fires more bullets, one that fires more mortars. No behavior changes required.
Yeah,
we're not going to try and be clever about it. We're just, you know, it's just going to feel bigger and bulkier. But I understand why you have that reservation. And I think I definitely also would have it, but I do have a bit of a take the wheel and steer thing. It's actually the first day that always gets me, where I'm always like, fuck me, we're nowhere near the getting stuff in bit. But on that last day, all my confidence comes back. I mean, I'm wrong. I told you at the end, I was like, yeah, I'll get a soundtrack in. Like, I really believe in myself on that last day.
You were saying that 45 minutes from the end.
I couldn't even build, my laptop was crawling because of how long it had been on. I was trying to open Photoshop for like 20 minutes. I don't know what I thought was going to happen there.
Yeah, it's always end of day 2 for me. Like 3 or 4 hours from bedtime on day 2, I always feel like we're past the halfway point, and I've not even finished putting in the base systems yet. But yeah, I think it's deceptive because, like you say, you spend about 2 days basically building your foundation, or at least we do for the games we're making, like our particular scope. And when you're playtesting it, it doesn't feel like that's what you're doing, because you play, and especially because we polish early as well, you play something that feels really sick, even a day in, and that feels like content, and it's not really. It is foundation. It's just your framework, but it feels so sick after a day that when after 2 days you're not much further, like when you're playing it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, nothing's gonna get done day 3. we're almost at the home straight. But
I also always shit myself that we're not going to have a very good, and the same thing happens every time. Shit myself that this game's not going to be as good as the last ones, and then you just put sound in, and you're like, no, it's better than all. It's good. I forgot about it. It's just not as much fun to play if there's no like feedback.
Yeah.
I really like a lot of things about this game. I do think that we've done a couple of different kinds of games. We have this kind of sort of party game thing going on. Waver has like a bit of this like goofy Nintendo thing going on. Jingoku is definitely more leaning to, I mean, you know, it's WarioWare, it's very Nintendo. Words on the Street has bits of this. It's a bit more, you know, it's got this kind of like drop in, drop out. It's a coffee table book. The goal is just to give you a good time or whatever. And then you and I also have done, you know, we also enjoy systems a lot. We've not worked on puzzle games together, but we have worked on the other things that we like, which are big systems-driven action games. Yeah. And you know, this is the third time we've done a top-down shooter in theory.
We've mentioned Words on the Street a couple of times, just for people who may not know what that is in chat. We're working on, it's a non-LD project, just something we're making in the meantime. It's a Twitch integrated word game which is a collection of various different word mini games. One works kind of like Boggle, one works kind of like Wordle. There's various others. Anyway.
Yes, good point. It's we in fact, if anybody is interested, we'll probably be doing playtests again quite soon.
Yeah.
We've got a question in chat.
Oh.
Were you able to use any feedback from previous LDs in this game? Matt, you answer.
Yes. I don't know how effectively it's been used, but one thing that I try and be aware of that always gets brought up in feedback is developer difficulty. Where I think a little, it's a trap I personally definitely fall into a decent amount, is just games that are too hard because you're playing them from your perspective, you're making it, you get good at it, and then you lose focus on how hard it is for other people, especially in this context where you don't have the time to get other people to like play test it for you as well. We probably spend a maximum of like 2 hours over that 3 days total actual real time doing your own testing, let alone other people testing for you. So yeah, I think this game doesn't suffer too badly from developer difficulty, really. It's hard to say because the difficulty of the game itself is actually probably one of the main issues we may well have with it. And I'm sure we'll come back to that, because I think that's maybe the biggest downside of the game, is that I would call it a delicate, perhaps fragile difficulty curve. I think it's broken easily in either direction, too hard or too easy. But yeah, I don't think it's a developer difficulty issue this time around, which is kind of nice, because some of our games are just very hard. Waver gets really hard. While Alive gets really hard. Jingoku is really hard, but we get away with it because it's so fun. But like even that one, the shining feedback, one thing that always gets brought up, even when it's not really framed as criticism, is I didn't complete any of the games. We have so many comments on that, which is like, despite the fact that I didn't pass a single minigame, I still had a great time. Which is fun that like people can still enjoy it without getting points, but you know.
Jingoku is an interesting one because there is a global leaderboard. It is good indicator. It's like, we were at the top of that leaderboard for like way too long. Like we shouldn't have been that high for that long. Yeah. It's not like we tried to set like really hardcore scores. I think it was just like our first playthrough after we finished the game, and we were like 1, 2, and 3 for like 4 days. Even though we get quite a lot of players. No, I agree. I don't think this game was too hard, but yes, there are problems with the difficulty. But it comes from a different place. I also want to answer another question in the chat there from Aaron, which says, is this the final product, or does more work need to be done on it? This is definitely the final version of this. I don't think that the game in its current form is something that we would continue to develop. No. But I think to me especially, there are things that I wanted to test about some future game ideas, because when me and Matt finished up with Waver, there was quite a lot of stuff we were talking about. It's like, what's our next project? And there are a few little ideas and mechanics. There's an idea that we thought we might start on that probably would have looked quite a lot like this, with vastly different mechanics, but probably would have looked quite a lot like this. And I wanted to, I think this has been a good aesthetic test of that for me. Yeah. Also for just the idea of doing action games. I think this is the best feel of an action game we've had, and the things that aren't in there that don't feel good are the things that I would love to change anyway. Like, I don't think the melee combat feels good. It's not like a cool action game necessarily. But the top-down shooting, I think, feels better than it's felt in previous games. It feels like, it shoots what you click, and the viscerality of it is good, and I can imagine how you would play with that. So some parts of that, I'm like, there are things here that I said to Matt at the end of this, hey, there's a game we've talked about before. Let's have it, and we haven't done this yet. We've got other stuff on the docket, but let's have a discussion about what that could look like, and if there's some kind of pitch deck that could come out of it. And I think that's one of the things that the game jams are good for generally, is, hey, is there something that we want to pursue here? Like Jingoku was the thing that we like it enough now. There's very little. A version of Jingoku will exist that's always going to be pretty similar to Jingoku. Yeah. Waver, we just continued straight through it. It's in there. The bones of the demo are in there. While Alive basically acted as a demo for another project that we started doing some development on before pausing that to talk to people about Jingoku, and then started a new thing that was much smaller in the gap. And this to me also represents another one of those, like, okay, this could be the foundations for another thing.
Yeah.
But not in the same way that Jingoku was, probably more in the same way that While Alive was, where it's like it's a good road test for something.
Yeah.
And actually knowing the things that don't work in this is very helpful too. So I'm like, well, here's what you would not do.
Yeah.
There are lots of things in this that I just think like it's fun, but it's more of just like a learning experience.
Yeah, so like I guess when you're saying parts of this are kind of a road test, to make it clear what parts that are really, the idea for this game did entirely come out of the theme for the LD. This isn't like the game just happened to fit, which is something we do keep track of. Like we have ideas for LD themes on previous years that we like enough that we actually kind of keep a mental or somewhere a physical note. So the next LD, if a theme fits it, we actually will like consider or go ahead and just use an idea we've previously had. This wasn't one of them. Like this idea did all entirely just come out of this LD. The parts that are kind of road tested are the like procedurally generated hexagonal grids and top-down combat occurring on them. That
might sound super straightforward, super stripped
sure,
back,
yeah.
because it is. But there was a very specific flavor of like, if we did this, how would that look? Because it's lots of people do hex grids. It's not like, would a game with hex grids be good? Yeah, of course. But like, could we do it in a way that felt like, this is something I'd want to like keep with. This is something I want to pursue visually.
Yep.
This is something that like I like the tactility of it. The little things like tiny little details like the hex is depressed when you touch them.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We'll take that with us if we do a hex game. I think.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that are bits of flavor. Hey, what do these shaders work? Mm-hmm. Does this idea of floating in the air work for us? Like
that's
below you. And
that is part of the stuff that was being road tested, like a floating island of hexagons out in kind of the void, maybe with these big. Blurry like shapes under the clouds out behind you, like that aesthetic is
this aesthetic of like is it and the idea also, you don't get much of it in this, but the idea of like a cross between something fantastical and something technological, which I think we have like a bit of in this, although this does feel probably more traditionally fantasy, but you do have that gun. There's a very clean UI. That's there are little things here that are definitely like, okay, this would carry this.
To be honest,
there are things that I wouldn't do.
The gun reads to me almost like magic in this anyway, because you do just like
yeah it does.
So yeah, I don't really see the tech fantasy thing that we talked about, although we have talked about that for this kind of game. But yeah, a lot of the aesthetic besides that definitely is. It's nice to see it in practice, having talked about it and maybe pre-vised it previously. I've now seen our game set there. It looks good. I want to do that.
And I think parts of the game feel are very good. The loop is not good, I don't think.
No.
The structure is not good.
No.
But the minute-to-minute tactility, even just a little thing like when you first arrive and there's just a couple of hands skittering around and you go bash them, they explode into bits, and the flashing is good and the color palettes are good and stuff like that is something that felt like that 5 seconds would be good, just not something that feels like those 5 minutes.
It's a nice intro, actually. I think this is something that I think we've done a genuinely pretty good job of over all LDs, and it's something I think a lot of people get caught out by. When you have as little time as you do to make an LD game, it's really easy to just give the player a wall of text explaining what they need to do. It's hard to design a game that teaches the player through the gameplay and through the design how to do it, and to make them feel like they've taught themselves how it works. We did it with Waver. In fact, it was one of the coolest bits of Waver, I think, is that we tell you how to wave the first guy and then we never talk to you again, and you have to work out what you're doing, and that the crowd is the keyboard layout. And that reveal, I think, like one of the best things we've done in LD, honestly, I think, is that reveal.
Well, that was the reason we did the game at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's great.
That one moment, and I was like, that is very good. Turns out, by the way, not sure that was enough to carry a full project. But damn, did we do a good job of it. No one's going to make a better Waver than we made ourselves.
But I think that's carried through. Like, buried things, we don't really tell you what's going on. It's all quite vague. You just dig in the desert in places that feel significant, and there are some kind of vague riddles to work them out. We never give you a training one or anything like that. We just say, space to dig, off you go. While alive, we don't really tell you how the loop works. We give you some stuff that kind of will help you work it out initially and just let you play. And this one, I think,
there's
is
some cheap clues in the like pseudo code and Wild
yeah,
Alive. Like the fact that there's a dash button in Wild Alive is only told to you because of it's like a commented out line, or
yeah,
which is
it's
nice.
cool.
But I know that game and Buried Things both also leaned on mystery more heavily than like a Jingoku, which obviously is very easy to understand because you probably know exactly how to play from the get go.
Yeah,
I know what Jenga is. We
yes.
are very similar to Jenga.
Jingoku is definitely less relevant to this point because it's not a game. Yeah, there's no mystery in it really at all, right? It's WarioWare and Jenga, and they both read as things that people are used to. It's mini games and a game that you're familiar with. Like, that's fine. But this one, I think, is probably one of the best examples of that so far. Like, there's a few things going on, and I think people work it out without us ever really telling them how it works at all. The game entirely speaks for itself. The way that you go down a level. And like, there's even a progression to seeing like streamers and players work out how they're going. There's like a point that the first little island we land you on teaches you that hitting enemies counts this trapdoor down, and once you've killed enough enemies, you can go down there, but it's still your call when you go. And then people start doing that; they kill enough enemies to go down, and then they start noticing the other things that are happening on the levels. That there's other countdowns happening, and that you get power-ups from them, and therefore I probably shouldn't be going down immediately, which is what I've been doing up to this point. And like, we never tell you any of that, and we like pretty consistently have watched streamers go through that thought process and work out what they should be doing, and that you need to be staying on these platforms for as long as you can before you drop down, and realizing that they were kind of misdirected into jumping down immediately before that point and correcting their strategy. So that's cool. Like, I think that's one of the best things about the game, honestly.
And I actually think that the conveyance is good enough in the game that people learn how to break it. Which is, the fact that people at some point have gone, oh, hang on, isn't the optimal strategy to do X?
Yes.
Which the game never tells you to do.
Right.
And it's actually pretty vague about what strategy even would be. The fact that they are working out how to break the game is at least a sign that while the game is conveying its mechanics well, and actually it's not that you've found some very clever loophole, it's sort of a problem in the design of the game.
Yeah. But
you have understood it correctly. Like, you're really engaging with the game as intended, actually. The fact that you're getting to optimization this quickly is cool because you're understanding the game very quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of a solvable game, and it's a problem that it's a solvable game. But given that it is, having people solve it is pretty cool. But that is a nice that is a nice segue into I guess we mentioned it before. It's probably the biggest problem with the game is the progression and like difficulty scaling.
Yeah. And before you go into that, let me just address 2 questions in the chat here. Where can you find our games? So I can give you the itch link to our, or in fact, do you want to do that actually? Because I'm not signed in.
It's in chat a little higher up. I'll repost it. There you go.
You can play this game Strata via that link, and if you just go back to the regular user there, you can see all our previous jam entries as well. And if you really want to support us, you can go and buy Waiver on Steam,
which is also in chat. There you go, folks.
And Anna, to answer your question, we've not had that many streamers play at this time, but we did a supercut of streamers playing last time, and if VODs still exist, I will probably try and do the same at the end of this, just because I think it's nice for posterity's sake. But until then, I can tell you, Alicia Griffin has played our game, Pomo the dog,
Honest
who else?
Dan.
I saw someone, Honest Dan.
Yep.
We didn't get
Erect Tomato.
Great name. We didn't get our favourite boy to play.
Alex Rose?
Oh no, actually I love Alex Rose, but
because he's also not played it this time around, I think.
No, what is his name? I always forget his name. Johnny Cuddles. Oh God, what's his name?
Johnny Cuddles? Like
the Wild Alive King streamer, 2 hours Wild Alive stream.
Oh God, yeah. Instafluff.
Instafluff.
Yeah, well, I've not seen him streaming any LD stuff this time around.
Which is a shame. But there's some names just if you want to go check. I'm sure those VODs hopefully still exist. And if they do, hey, feel free to download them and share them with me on WeTransfer. Because I want to cut them at some point.
The Ludum Dare page, I'll put that in chat as well if you just want to see like our actual posting on LD. There is one timestamped Twitch VOD in the comments from Alicia who actually put "Here is me playing your game" in the comments, so you can find that one.
She's good for that. So yeah, do you want to go into the delicate balance of this game?
Sure. So, yeah, the general premise and like strategy of what you should be doing. The theme is delay the inevitable for LD50, and our idea is that you have this arena-based shooter where you have to kill X number of enemies to open the trapdoor and go down a level, and when you go down a level, things get harder. In order to compensate for that, you can collect power-ups on the floors that you're playing. The idea being that you need to equip yourself as well as you can before you drop down to the next floor. And there's a bit of kind of a greed mechanic going on because you can choose when to go down. It's really up to you, like how greedy, how risky to be before you drop. Like how many enemies are going to overwhelm you before you decide to actually just leave the level. How much damage are you willing to tank on the way to that exit because you let a massive crowd form while you were going for all your upgrades. So the game increases in difficulty in two ways, I guess almost kind of in the short term and in the long term. For any given floor, the spawn wave count timer like just gets shorter and shorter. So between every new group of enemies, they start by spawning every like 8 seconds, and the longer you stay there, the closer that approaches, I think like 2 seconds, maybe even quicker than that.
Oh really, is that?
Yeah, because like if you're staying there that long, you need to just get absolutely swamped. You don't, because we didn't want the game to be solvable, but here we are. Yeah, you need to collect all your upgrades and go down before that timer gets really, really short. And then the game increases in actual like enemies to have more health and hit harder. And there are new enemy variants that are difficult as you go down. And then for those floors, again, those harder enemies also start spawning quicker and quicker. So you're trying to keep up with the game increasing in difficulty. The problem is that because you're kind of riding this tightrope of you're getting better as the game is getting harder, you kind of accelerate away from the game's difficulty, or the game accelerates away from you quite quickly. If you're outpacing the game's difficulty, you just collect more power-ups. You can stay on a level for longer, and you escalate in ability away from how hard the game's getting. Or if the game is outpacing you, you can't stick around on the levels as long to get the power-ups, and you have to drop down faster where you meet harder enemies. So there's this problem where the game doesn't self-correct for difficulty. It kind of it goes away, like it frays out. So you either do well and get better, or do bad and get worse.
And the thing is, actually, if you asked us as designers, how do you solve that problem? I think there are a lot of answers. They just take away from the theme.
Yes.
I don't think we would make a game that was designed infinitely. I think I would sooner have a game that's like, well, you can stick around for 20 enemies, or you can leave after 5.
Yep.
But at some point, we'll push you down. Like, a flaw in the Binding of Isaac is only so big. You can go through it quickly, or you can maximize.
Yep.
And there's a risk reward there, but there's never the chance to just fully blow things out. And you'd be able to balance around, well, what's the maximum a player can get, what's the minimum a player can get. Let's hit a sweet spot. There is no way for us to test that, because there is no maximum to what a player can get. Actually, a player can get infinitely powerful.
It's interesting you bring up Isaac. I hadn't really thought about this, but greed mode in Isaac basically is this game, except not infinite, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing where you can choose to take more risk, beat harder enemies, and get more rewards before you go down. And we're doing almost the exact same thing, and it is just better in Isaac greed mode. There's normal enemies, hard enemies, hardest enemies, and you can choose to leave after any of those. But if you stick around longer, you get cooler stuff.
And also, I think there's a lot of other reasons as a designer I like that distinction more. I like less smooth gradients of difficulty. I like the idea of it's like, well, there's an easy and a medium, and I like the lines of knowing, because it almost feels like they're little bookmarks of like, okay, here is where this is how good I am. I've decided. Okay, I've hit a checkpoint of some description, rather than just now is good. 12 seconds versus 14 seconds.
Right.
Not so much, but like 5 button presses versus 6 button presses. Okay, I know exactly what I can do.
Yeah.
That, I think, as a designer, it's just got more punch, got more like feel to it.
Yeah.
And also it's nice to be able to do things that are built around knowing how long a player will be interacting with a certain thing. That the idea that there are harder enemies later on is true, sort of. But actually, I think that most of the time, if you're getting that far with our model, it's because they've become enemies you're one-tapping, and actually you never get to see our cool content as it's as cool content. You don't have to solve the puzzle of, oh, this guy has an 8-way shot. Oh, these mortars, I can't sideways dodge. I got to go forwards or backwards, right? I got to. It's not going to be a thing that people get to engage with, which is fine. And I think that's, I do remember saying, to you, part of it, I suppose, that we're hindered a bit by trying to make a game that is on theme. But the reason that we're making this game at all is because of the theme. So, that's kind of part of the parcel as well. Maybe we could have been cleverer about it if we'd tried to polish it up less, tried to make it less crisp and clean. But then, to me, even though in ways this project fails, what I wanted to get out of it, I think, and maybe, I don't know about you, it was can we make something that feels legit? Like, we're a studio who can pump out something that feels like a game.
In 3 days.
Again, I think we've done it, where people turn around and go, there's no way you did this in 3 days. Yeah. Like, I was even showing some friends who do 3D modeling, some of the 3D models that we've done. They were like, oh, so, where'd you get these 3D models? I'm like, no, like, this is, we're capable of kicking this stuff out now. Like, you said, you rewrote the hex generation script. It's a solved problem. Do a rewrite. I'll solve it again. Like, but my brain is now wired that I can just do that.
I know how to do it in an hour and a half. Yeah.
And that's great. That's part of strengthening as a studio, strengthening as a partnered up pair, enjoying the thing on. Yeah, I don't know. So I do think that version of it was a success.
One last thing to mention, just on the kind of difficulty stuff and the quote unquote solvability of the game as well. While the difficulty kind of escalation, kind of spiraling away in one direction or the other, is definitely an inherent problem to the design, the solvability isn't. The solvability could have actually been fixed, and it just happens that one of the floors has a kind of set of mechanical interactions that allows it to break the rest of the game. So on floor 1, there are no projectile enemies. Every enemy is a melee swiper, and if you can get 2 axe upgrades, you are one-shotting them in terms of health. And no matter how fast we spawn them in, which for projectile enemies would make a difference, because the projectiles don't hit the enemies, they just go through them. So you'd just be in a sea of, it would just be pure bullet hell. On this particular floor, physical space matters, because they're all trying to melee you. And they block each other, like they crowd around, and the ones further back can't get to you, right? You just have this little ring around you. And if your axe is swiping faster than their melee, which it does, they never hit you. You just spam axe, and then as the next ones come in, you spam axe. And if it takes a little bit of skill, because we've seen streamers quote unquote solve it, but still not actually perform the solve. Mm-hmm. But Pomo is the one that we've seen who actually does just perform the solve.
He was the first streamer as well, and he solved it immediately.
Yeah,
because he knows games very well. I think he's played a lot of action games. Yeah, and he understood what to do there. I think a lot of people perform the solve to survive on the floor and then have no idea how to get to the next floor.
Yeah.
Haven't quite solved the second part of the problem. Also, another thing that, and it's sort of what I was saying earlier about having someone like Will to just like push you to do the most fun things in the game. A couple of notes of feedback that I've seen that, as soon as someone said it, I was like, that's so true, is, hey, it feels really good to fire the gun, and I never get to do it. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, that's partly the gun went in very last minute. There was, we didn't know how balanced that was going to be. Like you said, you imagined it as more of a get out of jail free card. Yeah,
I imagine the gun being significantly more powerful than it is. Like, it fires a big laser, pierces through enemies, does a shitload of damage. It just baps an entire crowd and lets you through. And it's actually a bit of a pea shooter, to be honest. I mean, it does. It's alright.
Basically, we had our bullet in that works already, and you were like, should we make it pierce? And I was like, we have the functionality to make it not pierce. Put that in then. When does the bullet kill itself? But as is, I think the thing is, because the game is polished feeling, that even putting in that pea shooter, it feels cool to fire. Little things that I like. I really like the way the hand animates up with the IK, and the sound is good, but also just it's tactile. It's a tactile game. It feels good to click the button. It feels good to see the thing happen. It feels good to see the impact of what you did. All of that is very nice. Yeah. And the numbers are pretty good. I think actually, like 1 or 2 hits to kill something, you can take about 6 or 7, and I think everything feels like an action game to a degree. But maybe it's just not. You're not always doing the best possible thing. Yes, Anna, people have mentioned that.
we mentioned it during development. At one point, I was going to change the controls over and then as I was doing it, I realised something that made it a bit awkward, and I don't even remember what that was now, so I just left it as is. I don't even remember what it was. Do you know what? It might have genuinely been something as simple as like I was about to do it and then realised you were working in the script, so I didn't touch it or something. Yeah. So yes, ideally I would like to switch the actions over and have the axe be a left click.
Either like mirror the thing to have the action on left click, or to begin the game by right clicking, or it would have been better. Also, like another thing that I said to you like a minute after it ended is, why do you wake up from the floor? It's solves so many problems instead of having you fall into the scene. Like you fall, the game, you're always falling, and also our static screen that we couldn't have the hands on the screen because they can push you around.
Yeah.
But if you weren't there, our menu could have been two hands walking around in the background, which is way more interesting. It's way more like, oh, what's this going to be? And then when you press it, you're like, that would have been way more fun. Why would we make that?
I don't mind it too much because it's got like a cinematic quality to the start, whereas the other way it looks like a game from the get go. So I think it is kind of fun that you've got this like camera looking at the floor. But I know what you mean. Like it's definitely more on theme, our theme.
It just it's more that it just surprises me that
we didn't do it.
Yeah. Like it seems so obvious as a decision that we would have made. But yeah, and there's not that there's no value to the way we did it. Just it's wild that it took until the jam had ended for us to realise that. And then little things, we don't have enough time for music, and that's been the case in the last 3 jams. Since Buried Things, I've not written music since Buried Things. Harry helped start Fishy Lake, no music in Waveland, no music in Jingoku. We started writing on this one, but I think the thing is, like, when you're a small team, you just have to work out where the time is required.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I only got sound in the game 6 hours.
Sure, yeah.
We submitted, maybe.
Yeah.
And you know, that's pretty straightforward. My method of sound is go to some libraries, layer 2 or 3 different sounds, maybe crop them, and then shove them in. It's not like I'm doing Foley over here. Like at one point there, someone was playing a game, was like, "Is that your voice?" I'm like, "That is a random American." I have no idea who is going, "Yeah." Do you want to do the ratings?
I was going to say the same thing, yeah.
By the way,
we could do a quick game on stream, yeah. See if we can solve it.
See if we can solve it. Nice to have a little. I forget what the word archive of the game being played. Nothing else.
I'm going to put this over everything, including cameras, just because the cameras are currently in front of the scoreboard that I have in the corner, which means it's going to cover things in a weird order if I put it behind. So it's just going to cover everything. But yeah, we can go ahead and have a game here. Let's move that.
Ooh, we've got 4 comments.
We've got 4 things on things we follow. One of them is a comment for us, which is nice.
I played some games. There was a Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes game that I played yesterday. It was so unbelievably overwhelming.
Like as an LD one?
Yeah.
That's fun. We might need to...
That actually is funny looking at the comment here, because I left them a comment saying, you know, you did a lot, there's a lot of stuff in there. I was totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, after 72 hours, we knew the manual by heart and where to look.
Yeah.
It would have been useful to have some dedicated beta testers. And I was you too, eh? It's impossible not to make a very difficult game. Like, even, like, we always peel it back a bit. And there's always the thing of, like, we made it really boring now. And then inadvertently, it's still too hard.
Yeah. You'll probably be doing more of the talking than me while I'm playing this, because I always end up going into concentration mode playing our other games.
I'm going to be watching it on a bit of a delay. But, so yeah, I mean, like, okay, aesthetically, and also, yeah, there's a few things you didn't mention, like the wobble of the tiles, the rotation of the font, the glass shader is something I wanted to play with. I love that fog in the background. You know, okay, all of the creatures have this dynamic IK. Now, actually, though it is scrappy, works pretty well. I think a lot of things here feel like that slide feels good. The particle bloom feels good. The wall shader. I've seen a few people lose their minds at that wall shader. Just being like, oh my god, you guys had time to do that. It's like, yeah, and it's what you said. We polished very early.
Yeah.
So actually, it looked good. Immediately, you could walk around and there were walls that would pop into existence around you. And we even did some frame rate optimization day 1.
We did,
Your
yeah.
mouse is so noisy, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. That's just, you're going to have to live with that.
Well.
It is solved, by the way. We've solved it. Solved the game.
Cool. But yeah, like the way that things splatter. I mean, you know, the one things that I did that I like is the 8-way movement. It's a bit scrappy, but you can face a direction and walk a different direction, and your legs dynamically adjust around that.
There you go, a little demonstration.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty. Like I don't know, it all feels legit. And I think that there are a lot of things. It's things that you don't notice. People always say this about sound design. It's when you don't notice it that's when it's really good. Which I don't think is true about sound design actually. But it's a commonly touted phrase.
It certainly is for camera control, I think.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think we are at the point where a lot of the things people are noticing, like you could make a game that was not very good but had these IK-controlled creatures, and you were like, hey, that's a really cool feature. I think anyone's even mentioned it. I'm like, this is really impressive, by the way. If you watch these things walk around, they're walking in a very cool way. Like they're completely. I've never seen the way they can move before. And that's just one small feature that we had. Like, did you see we had a comment left that was some guy being like, I've taken notes for my UI. I mean, like, it's just, you forget, we've done a really good job on that, which was a really small last minute part of it for us, we shuffled it around twice. You made an icon, I made an icon.
Yep.
And then we just slapped a nice font in there, basically, in size and stuff.
Speaking of nice icons, I never knew that the health bar said max when you were at max, but I've just discovered that.
It's a masked up little thing. I actually really like that wobble on the tiles. It's like a low frame rate wobble. Yeah. There's the what was the other thing I was going to say about icons and cleanness? Oh yeah, the other thing that we've not mentioned is the hurt screen and death screens. I was really happy with that.
They're very cool.
At the end of day one, I think it was. And like that's great. Are you playing the web build or the Windows build?
Web, which is why the bullets don't look 100%.
That's right. Yeah, they're not the blue one, have they? But I think even without the shader, it looks pretty cool actually. Even without you being a silhouette, it still looks quite cool. And like people were noticing that, and I heard a lot of people say, "Oh, that's an insanely stylish death screen." Like, yeah, it's just one of the many things we've put in. I like a lot of how this game presents itself. I'm happy with this. Do you wanna go and fight the Mortem guys?
I was hoping I could grab another axe upgrade or two just to make sure I was one shot and everything, but there we go. Let's grab some more bullets. What was that, sorry?
I said no on screen after you said that.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I won't spend too long on the next ones. We're pretty good.
Shoot some baddies.
Shoot some?
Yeah, shoot some baddies.
Alright. Maybe I will.
Do all. It's not. Oh, yes.
Ooh, 2 axe upgrades coming up.
Ooh, don't mind if you do. I love the little crawly hands. And actually, another thing that I was happy with is there's a couple of last minute little bits that are quite fun, like the sound design on the hands and the guys walking around is just a loop that is based on their velocity. So like if they're still not doing anything, but as you watch them, they kind of just go clack, 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 clack. It's always happening. Like little things like that just work out. Hey Rubik's.
Hey Rubik's.
Very good. Just demoing the game.
Alright, we're pretty beefy here. I don't think we'll stay for long.
There's the mortar enemies here. You can see we have the explosions. And again, I don't think we missed any sound design. There's like unique footstep sounds for different tiles.
You don't even hear it, honestly. They're so quiet, which is a shame, but it's a cool bit of polish.
Yeah.
Like, I know they're there and I don't notice it.
No, yeah, it's true. But I do wonder if you would notice if it wasn't there. Or at least, there's some small part of you that's feeling it. I mean, maybe not, actually. But it's like a good balance of herbs and spices.
Ooh.
Hold fast. And get close. Yeah, I mean, like it's working. I don't know what bugs people have managed to hit. I think it's sliding near walls.
Sliding near walls is we never found that in testing.
No. Is what it is. And also, this is HTML5 build. It's running at a pretty high frame rate, and this is with like an hour optimization. This guy works. He looks goofy as hell, but he works. He wraps under this. You can see
that wrap is so janky. I swear to God. I spent so long on that.
talk about testing cool ideas. Like this was another thing we wanted to test, right? Hey, what would it be cool to see things crawling underneath the
And you can see it under the glass.
layers?
It's sick.
I mean, it looks
That's actually
great.
really sick.
You know, that's a cool feature. Yeah, having the glass tiles was a strong move, I think.
All right, and the final enemy type should be appearing.
Are there two enemy types? There's just one. No, there's just one.
Ooh, there he is. You hit me.
The 8-leg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there you go. I mean, this is Strata. This is what it looks like. You mentioned Stratum 6. There's a sort of high scoring. There's some feedback there. We didn't put in global leaderboards or anything. Although I wonder if that wouldn't have been a good feature actually, just as incentivize replay.
Yeah.
It's not something we've been talking about actually, but maybe that was one of those things.
I think it actually would incentivize people to drop faster because what I've seen happen a lot in this game is people get really greedy, stay on levels even when they're doing really well, and eventually just die to stay on the level because they're just not thinking to drop down. Maybe just seeing like the high
the game
score is
so
5.
much harder when there's a lot of bullets on screen. Like those 8-way shooters really do make it so that you're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
They're good. They look fun. But yeah, I think a lot of this worked pretty well, and there are so many little details in this game that I think you don't get in the typical LD game. You know, and we've been doing this for a long time, and that's why we are doing it. But you know, I've seen a lot of LD games, this LD, where one of the enemies has sound effects, but the other one doesn't. Right? Like it's just not. It's hard to squeeze in the minimum version of what you want. And I think this is a pretty maximal approach to juice and to feel. And I think that's the stuff we'd want to carry with us.
Should we see if we can break it? Should we see if we can get like through the cloud layer?
Yeah, you probably can if you just drop down every opportunity now.
See how we go.
It's not that low, actually. You're probably quite near it already.
Yeah, like the background color changing is a nice bit of polish.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like basically, it was a way to get good screenshots. Really, it's not looking good for you.
Oh, I didn't even notice it.
Oh, you fell down. We're in Stratum 9.
We're in the chocolate layer.
These
I'm not one-shotting anymore. I'm way too low.
These Strata almost had names, which would have been again a nice touch. I can't remember why. Was it just the timing thing?
Yeah, we just never had time to come up with it, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, the 8-way shooters still being one-shot. I thought they had more health than the 4 guys.
Maybe.
Now we know. And boss number 2, which I'm gonna have to melee.
Is there a boss number 2? Same as?
Yep.
Just one guy.
This is the last one.
2.
5 and 10 have bosses. And
I actually love watching the boss fall because his silhouette's bigger. It's quite spooky when he lands.
Oh. So a little.
Oh no!
Little bug happened where the boss ran under me and made me fall.
What a way to go!
Yeah.
I mean, there you have it. You know, you did the logo for the game, which you've not done before. That's quite fun. I got a variant on the Buried Things opening splash where it's black on white now and there's some fog and we reverb out the sound effect.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it, it's very clearly done by some very competent people who have a very good grasp of how to make a good game. And I don't think it looks like a 3-day game. I mean,
It doesn't look like a 3-day. No.
We've talked about this before, but like I don't think that represents a demo you would send to a publisher. Even if we'd made the mechanics correctly, it's probably still too small a thing. But it's the kind of thing that, you know, if you wanted to make that game, you probably only need like another week on that before you're like, that's it. That's the kind of thing we want to make. And I mean, being able to turn over prototypes like that is one of the things that we've wanted to do for a while. It's going to be useful for us just moving forward and trying to establish ourselves as a studio. So. Yeah, I think all in all, that's pretty good. So should we rate the...
Yeah, let's close out with some predictions. Right, we'll come back to overall at the end.
Yeah.
Prediction type, which one is this? Okay, so let's go bottom up, so they get more interesting as they go up. So mood.
I think it's got a very good mood. I actually think this is going to be one of the games that people rate very highly on mood.
I agree.
It feels very specific. You feel like you're in that place. It's mysterious, which I think is a lot of what mood is for people. You kind of want to know what's going on.
It's creepy in a way.
It's creepy, and like people talk about, you know, there's fog that's what mood is, isn't it? Mood is, did you put fog in the game? We
Yeah.
did, yeah. So I think, okay, realistically, do you have our scores from last time? Can we see Jingoku's scores?
Wait, our predictions or the real ones?
The real ones.
The real ones. I can get that up. Yeah.
We might be able to better assess.
Okay, so Jingoku, mood 53.
Wow. Also pretty. I think we're gonna do better.
Yeah. Okay, so well, my I was gonna say it's an optimistic one, but I was gonna say 50 for mood.
I was also gonna say 50,
Okay.
but in order to beat you, I'm gonna say 49.
I see.
The thing that makes me think this game isn't going to do as well as Jingoku is the number of ratings we've got, which I actually don't think shouldn't matter, right? But in my head, Jingoku was so popular that it makes sense that Jingoku scored very highly. Whereas this game, like, we've only just crested the relevant amount of votes, probably because we just didn't hit the coolness on day one when everyone else was voting for everyone, and we didn't get streamed as quickly as we did with Jingoku. But I think the game has got more moods than Jingoku. So.
God, it's hard to say. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's maybe a little bit more cogent. It's hard to say because Jingoku is not cogent by design.
Right.
So it's really difficult to make a comparison. But yeah,
the nice little lounge you're in Jingoku has a nice mood, and there's consistent elements throughout the thing that carry that.
Yeah.
But I think that what people think of as mood oftentimes is it a bit like Mist?
Yeah, in terms of what people think mood means, definitely this one beats it, 100%. Yeah. This one actually does kind of have Mist vibes.
Yeah, right.
Cool. Okay, so humor for Jingoku is 199. We haven't rated in humor this time because it's not a funny game.
It's not very funny, is it?
Jingoku got 33rd audio.
Wow. I think the audio on this is really good.
Yep.
Do I think it's better than Jingoku's audio?
And
I'm not sure I do.
Do you think people will knock it for not having music?
Well, people didn't knock Jingoku. Actually, Jingoku had a very tiny bit of music. It had a bit of music that you wrote.
It's a badly synthesized bass guitar.
I just really like it. That's staying in the I really like it. It fits really well. Do I think that this will be knocked for not having music? It feels like a game that wants music more than Jingoku did, for sure. But
I know the desolate. I think you cheat it just by putting the wind in at the start. I think that just goes. We're high up on a mountain. You don't need music. It's airy.
Too high up for music. Music evaporates at this height.
It would be quite funny if if you got to an absurd strata level that we never expect anyone to get to, music starts faintly coming in the lower you get down, but it's only from strata 25 onwards. We wrote a whole concerto for it.
That is in the game actually.
Oh right, okay. I'll have to play it some more to find that. I didn't know that. The max on the health bar and the concerto that plays at Strata 25. Didn't know about those.
Do I think we'll beat 33rd? 33 is a very high score. I think this game has very good audio, but I want to say I think we will be 45th.
Okay, I was going to go a bit less optimistic on that because there's also not the variety of audio that Jingoku has, and I think that and the not music combined, I'm going to go for 100. I do think it's very good audio, but yeah, I'm going to say 100, and you're saying 45.
45, yeah, I'm sticking with that.
Okay.
All right.
This is not. I don't have a proper system set up for doing this. Graphics. We got 36 on Jingoku.
This will be better on this one. I think people are going to really like the graphics on this one. I think we're going to be top 20. I think we are going to be number 18.
You're saying 18 graphics. I was going to say 25, but honestly, it does look slick, doesn't it?
Yeah. Have you seen that wall shader?
I'm just thinking about the other LD games that I've seen this time around. I'm gonna be more optimistic than that. I'm gonna say 10.
Whoa.
I'm gonna say 10. And you've got 18. 18? Is that right?
18, yeah.
Alright. Okay, theme. It's always a hard one. We got 212 for Jingoku.
Did we? I think we're gonna be 300.
I'm gonna say, because of the player teaching themselves why they're delaying the inevitable strat and the fact that some people won't get that, I'm going to go way less optimistic. I'm going to say 1,000.
Okay. Do you know how many entries we had this time?
I don't.
We can find out, can't we? There's a way to know.
There should be a way to know.
Do you remember what the way to know was?
Let's have a look. It's usually just on...
Is it in, like, grade?
Just like the news... Oh, there was a keynote. I didn't watch the keynote, but I'll have to...
They have a breakdown, right, of how many people did jam, how many people did occupy.
Yeah, stats page. So number of submissions, 2,800.
Really? That's lower than I thought it would be. I thought because it was number 50, people would go, I was expecting more entries.
Types of entries... I guess some of them don't rate as complete. So type of entries, 2,888 games.
Oh.
0 crafts, 0 demos, and 0 tools. So I think Ludum Dare's ambitions to go beyond game stuff not working out great right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the fact that you can be like an incomplete. Yeah, there are 84 unfinished.
Okay. Because there's another category as well. There was the extra category. I really was expecting this to be the big boy.
The extra
category. It
category.
really was just the beginning of lockdown was when everyone did it. Maybe everyone's just like happy to be outside again now.
Yeah. Extra doesn't account for much. Only 74 submissions so far for extra.
Oh really? I think I've seen all of them then.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to say 1,000. Like I just don't think it doesn't do anything special with the theme.
No, I agree. I don't think. I mean, I just think it's one of those
connection.
things where again you are often carried by just being a good game.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if we are lower than 300 in anything actually.
Jingoku got 75 for innovation. It's pretty wild considering it's just two things that exist combined.
This is like less innovative though, right?
Yeah.
This is a top-down shooter.
Yeah.
250.
I'm going to go less than that as well. I'm going to say like 400. It's one of those where just if people enjoy it, everything gets inflated a little bit, and I think that's what's going on with Jingoku.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, the big boys. Fun.
So we came 11th in fun for Latvia.
We did.
Now maybe the competition was weaker back.
It was.
And the game feel of this is better. Okay, well we're gonna be like we're gonna come 10th.
Wow. Okay, so fun was 17th for Jingoku.
Wow, Jingoku's really fun. No, we're gonna come 10th. I'm standing by.
10th.
Wow. I'm usually not optimistic. Well, okay, I'm usually more optimistic than everybody, but I usually like temper my. No, we're top 10. We're
Okay.
top 10 in one category this time at least.
I'm going nowhere near as optimistic as 10 for this.
Where are you going?
Like 150.
Do it. Put it in. I want to wipe the fucking floor with your guess.
I hope you're right. I hope you beat me.
This game is no fishy lake, that's for sure. You goddamn right, Rubik's. We didn't reach those lofty goals.
And overall, which was of course our best overall last time for Jingoku, we got a magical 8th.
You actually got a top 10 overall.
We did actually get a top 10 overall.
We're not doing that.
No.
But we're going to do well. We're going to be top 50. We are going to be number 40.
Okay. I think I'm all round more pessimistic this time than you for almost everything. I'm going to go 80. I think we may hit top 100, but I don't know if we're hitting top 50.
We almost never miss top 100, and this is one of our stronger games. That said, keep scorers.
I think maybe it's bias on like we said earlier. It's a game more about the polish than the content. That seems to be where like the time and the majority of like the good stuff is. And it's when I think about how much there is to do, is where a lot of these ratings come from.
Well, Jingoku you could reasonably have played, and people did play for like 30 minutes, an hour. While alive, we know our streamer played it for an hour and a bit. No one's playing this game for an hour.
My partner's been visiting her parents like at the moment, and I don't know for sure what they've been up to, but I did get a random message out of the blue yesterday saying, "What was your Jingoku top score again?" So I think they're all playing that over there right now.
Same. My girlfriend has her family has played Jingoku, and like not just partially because they know I made it, but also like I didn't tell them to do it. I showed them a video of it, and they were like, "Can we play that one, please?" All right then. And we still got play. Yeah, no, but that game obviously had a very easy drop in, drop out. Because also I think, you look at something like Jingoku. First of all, I think it's the best thing we've made. I really like it. But a lot of that is because it is very easy to create something full when it's made of very tiny parts. This is at best a vertical slice of something because a game that looks and plays like this realistically has to be bigger, has to have hours more content and reward structures, things to unlock, things to explore. Part of it being a game that has a sense of mystery is, can you unravel that? And the answer is no. There's just some nice shapes and it's in a good mood. Yeah. Jingoku doesn't have to have that to be solid. Yeah. And actually, one of the reasons that I think Waver also did quite well is Waver also didn't have to have that. Waver also made sense as an arcade game that we then did go, okay, well, what if you did pour in these hours? Can you stretch that out? And there's ways to address that. But I think this is probably gonna suffer as a result. And I actually I think that While Alive as a top-down action game, and probably won't make another one of these for a little bit, is just fundamentally more interesting to interact with, albeit basically feels worse to play. I like looking at it less. It's got more issues, but is doing something clever and is engaging a different part of your brain. Yeah. Whereas this is engaging that part of your brain that While Alive is engaging, but really lighting it up, but probably not tickling the other parts very much. So, yeah.
What was our?
That's where we're at.
What was our overall score for While Alive? Do you remember? Was it 88 or something?
Yeah, maybe. Can we find out actually? Is it on our Ludum Dare page?
So While Alive, let's see. Overall was 72.
So what have our scores been overall on all of our gems?
It's officially never ranked.
Oh my god, that's terrible. We should have at least got it to rank.
72 overall for While Alive, 57 for Waver, and 4th on Innovation. Our only other single-digit score. Overall for Buried Things was 104, just shy of 100.
Oh, that hurts.
Hyperdemocracy is overall 95. Wow, hell. The competition genuinely, was way worse 7 years ago.
Yeah. Where's Latvian?
Latvian, it was 84 overall. We're pretty consistent from day one.
Is it only Buried Things that's been outside of the top 100?
Well, besides...
And that's the one we named the company after.
But besides the two that we've made that never even ranked because they were complete disasters. So Thritch never ranked, Fishy Lake never ranked. So of our finished projects, for some definition of finished, yes, it's the lowest ranking overall.
Okay. I don't think we're not going to be outside of the top 100 on this. There's no way. I mean, it's just too clean.
Yeah, no, we'll be top 100. Yeah, I think.
All right. Well, I think this is another pretty successful Ludum Dare.
Yeah.
And I enjoy working on stuff all the time. And it's interesting seeing all of this stuff. I come out of all of these now with our business brain on, going, okay, what did we just do for ourselves, for the company, for something that we can approach someone with, and what do we carry and what do we take? And I said it, I'm sure we will have this conversation at some point. What are we taking from here? How can we turn this into a deck? Is there anything here that you could meaningfully extend into a demo? We've got other projects on right now that are fingers in pies and things. And I think that's nice because it used to be a little bit, and I don't know if you probably have this when you're learning a new skill. When I can think about it when you're just learning music or when you're just learning art, that you're letting your hand guide you a little bit and waiting for happy accidents. Just okay, I'm not a very good artist, but I've accidentally done a pretty good shape there. It will be about this shape. And I'm actually, sometimes as an artist, in 3D less so, but in 2D, sometimes still I'm governed by that because I'm not the best painter or sketcher, for example. But in game dev, once upon a time, that's probably where we would have landed as well. Okay, we've had a success, let's just chase that, which is basically what happened with Waver.
Yeah.
Hey, this has turned out really well. Let our hand guide us. Yeah. And I think now we're so much more in the driving seat where pretty much we could have an idea, and if the idea is good, there is no threat in my mind that we will not be able to turn it around. I do not think, it's a shame that we don't know how to do that. I said this to you before, but there's a Twitch integrated game that we're working on now. The idea of making a game, like if someone said, "Hey, can you make an online multiplayer experience?" without us having ever done it, I am pretty confident we just could. It's like I've got an adult brain now compared to a child's brain, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I get how stuff works. There's no part of me that thinks anything is beyond me. If I know it's doable, I know the scope of can I do it. There are some things that no, I cannot do. I couldn't do animation. I couldn't do something that like Kojiro is doing. I can't make you a tool that integrates sign distance fields. No, you've come to the wrong guy. But when it comes to like making games, even like big scope, like hey, could you make an RPG? Yeah, I think we could do that. Yeah, I wouldn't be too stressed out about it. I would, and I think we'd be able to reasonably scope up the kind of that we could do. And every LD is like a good test of that. It's like a good reminder, just like, hey, can you land on what you think you're going to land on? And like the things that didn't work for us here were not things we didn't preempt. Were not things that we're like, oh, I really thought that was going to be a good idea, but it wasn't. Like, no, the ideas we thought were going to be good were good. The things that held us back were probably things we would have changed. There's no surprise in the feedback that we've got. And a lot of it is down to we ran out of time, or we took a design decision that maybe we wouldn't have taken in a larger project, or that kind of thing always makes me feel good. I just feel like we're basically growing as a team.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think that's everything. Thanks for joining us over the 3 days, folks. Thanks for watching the post-mortem. We'll be back for LD51. And before then, we'll be doing some words on the street, testing, or even playing, depending on how long that takes. So keep an eye out for words on the street streams, which will be over on Twitch, but I'll still be announcing them, in the Discord server. So come join us.
We'd love people to dive in and help us on those test streams, because we're also trying to stress test numbers at some point. Right, we're usually testing new mechanics, but eventually we're going to see, hey, can you do a blank person stream? Is the game still fun with more than 4 people?
Yeah.
So it would be nice to have 10 people, 1,000 people. Tell your friends.
All of them. And their friends. And
Tell
their friends'
all
friends.
998 of
It's
your
your
friends.
responsibility, chat. I expect 1,000 people on my doorstep tomorrow.
Alright, gang.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Catch you all later.